Hello there, superstars. His name is Aaron, and he's sorry.
His name's Tommy, and he likes to eat parsley flakes by the spoonful.
And this is the Super Pod Saga. Parsley shit, that would be something to eat.
That would be hell on earth.
Did you say parsley? Did you say parsley flakes? Is that what it was?
Yeah. Yep.
Dried, so they get stuck in your throat. Right.
Yes, exactly.
It's not even that good of a seasoning. Like it doesn't have a taste. Like why do people put it in things? It doesn't taste or smell like anything.
This is a new record for fastest detour. Welcome, superstars, listeners everywhere. You are listening to the Super Pod Saga. This is the podcast where Aaron and I, and sometimes guest, bring a different video game topic to the table. We talk about it, then we stop talking about it when we're done talking about it.
Right, and then we'll just discard it like an old bamboo toothbrush.
Never to return.
Yeah, I don't know if people know this. After we stop talking about a topic, it empties my mind completely.
Just like you, just no brain, just absolute smooth brain, just existing.
Yep.
After the topic is done.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like video game antago. What? What are you talking about?
We didn't do that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You might have already heard the voice of our guest today. Our guest is Nick from the Friday Night Gamecast. Hi, Nick.
Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks so much for having me on. I'm really excited to jump in here with the Super Pod Saga boys, Aaron and Tommy, the greatest of all time for topical podcasting. I'm really pumped to get in here and talk about some real angry boys and girls.
Stop! I'm
Yes.
blushing. You're making me blush. Tell me about yourself, about your podcast, all that good stuff.
Oh man, I love all kinds of games. I am famously the one that is too cowardly to settle myself in the camp of Xbox, Sony, or Nintendo. So I love all three, and I buy all three of them, much to my bank account's dismay. But yeah, I am Nick from the Friday Night Gamecast. I co-host that with my really good friend William, who you guys haven't had the opportunity to work with yet, but we're gonna make sure to correct that. Season 2 for our show is right around the corner. I'm just gathering some stuff, trying to finish up some things right now. But yeah, we are also a variety show podcast. We talk about everything on our show, from news, rumors, impressions for new games that have come out, and we often will do full-blown reviews for video games if we, think that it deserves an entire episode to dedicate to that as well. So we kind of are we're jacks of all trades, and we like to have our finger on the pulse for everything going on in video games right now. So we have a couple of exciting things coming up for the show. We've already played some things. You're asking me what kind of games that I like, and I'm thinking about that as I'm playing through games this year. And 2023 is just an incredible year for gamers as a whole. Absolutely insane, because no matter what you like, something new is coming out of a franchise that you love, whether it be Metroid or, Star Wars and Final Fantasy. Like, we are absolutely eating this year. Dead Space remake. I played that earlier. I have a review incoming with that with Nave from the Gaming Together podcast. I know he's a good friend of the show as well. And we did a review of the Dead Space remake. Dead Space is one of my favorite franchises of all times, and I just love survival horror in that sense. I've also been playing Resident Evil 4 remake as well. I played the original last year for the very first time, which was an eye-opening experience. I don't know if you guys are huge Resident Evil 4 fans.
I'm a coward. I don't play any Resident Evils. Gotcha. Yeah, I absolutely love that. But yeah, so we cover a lot of bases. We love all of the platforms that you can game on, except PC players, those stinky PC players. Who likes to emulate anything these days, right? They're so smelly.
Exactly. But yeah, if you want to go ahead and check out our show, we're the Friday Night Gamecast, and we also just finished up the side series called our Fireside Talks. This was a community-based limited series that I started to kind of feature everybody that was in the indie content creation space on the video game side. And so I featured a lot of really, really cool folks who run in similar circles as us. And you boys actually came on to open my eyes to one of the greats, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. So I was that was a really fun episode. I hope you guys enjoyed how that came out. I know that a lot of the fans really enjoyed that one as well.
Oh, good. That makes me happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where can people find you on the social media websites that are on the internet? Sure thing. If you want to reach out to us, we are on Twitter mainly. That's going to be the easiest way to contact us, both Twitter and Instagram. On Twitter, we're just Friday Night Gamers, and that's NITEGAMRZ. Our DMs are open, so you can just hit that up. I usually run that account, and I keep a close eye on the DMs there. You can also, find us over on Instagram, and we are just the Friday Night Gamecast over there. Will runs our Instagram. We just came out with some more Mario content. We had a little side series on Patreon. We also have a Patreon, so you can find us there, patreon.com/Friday Night Gamecast, and we have a side series called Did You Hate It? And that's going to be one of those series where it's like we're not really sure where we're going to land on the game, but we force one another to try and play the game. I just forced Will to play Mario Odyssey. That was an easy one. He loved it, and it was a really good episode. And he kind of broke it down, how incredible that experience was. And now he's going to make me play Half-Life 2, which is going to be very interesting. So I'm gonna see if I can get through that one. I'm excited to kind of learn a little bit more about Gordon Freeman and his whole journey through that thing. But yeah, give us a shout out on there. Reach out to us, and we'll hopefully connect.
We did that once where we made each other play a game, and it was only once because I don't think we can do anymore. I had Aaron play Top Gun on the Game Boy, and I played Castlevania 2 on the Nintendo.
Oh man, Top Gun on the original Game Boy?
Yeah, the original Game Boy.
Oh man. Did you beat it, Aaron?
No, I don't even know if I made any progress at all. It was just
it's a jet fighter sim on Game Boy. Yeah. Like you're actually flying around in open space on Game Boy.
It wasn't wild. Good though. It was not good.
I can imagine that being really rough.
Yes. Aaron, where can the people find us on social media and other things?
Yeah, just open up superpodsaga.com on your web browser, whatever. I'm a Firefox guy. If you want, where you can probably find us on your web browser as well too, or whatever you use to mine crypto. Just superpodsaga.com. All of our episodes are on there. Our blog posts, because we write blog posts frequently. We have our Patreon on there too if you want to give us money. And yeah, superpodsaga.com.
Yeah, we'll
I love that.
Money.
Are you gonna like start using Edge next, Aaron? After you're done with Firefox, like what's going on here? You're trending in the wrong direction. Google Chrome supremacy.
So I did use Chrome for like the longest time. For this stretch of like maybe 10 years, I used only Chrome.
Really?
And then I forget. I think it was just like there were too many add-on. I don't know. I forget what the fuck turned me off, but I was like, I'm gonna try Edge. I used Edge for a little bit, and like that was all right. And then I tried Firefox, and I'm like, dude, it's snappy, it's quick. You can send tabs from your phone to your laptop, and vice versa, like in the snap of your fingers, and yeah.
I was also a Chrome boy since like college, and then my work has Edge as the default browser that all their programs work on, and so I got used to it. I'm like, this isn't so bad. Maybe I should do this. So with my newest PC I got a couple months ago, I've been using Edge on it, trying to get used to it because I'm a horrible person.
I got you.
It's not bad though.
No, it's not bad.
I talk shit, but that's only because of the remnants of the hell that Internet Explorer gave me.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I will never trust Microsoft that much with my life again.
I completely understand. Speaking of people that you wouldn't trust your life with, what's our topic for today, Aaron?
It's our favorite video game antagonists.
Yeah, the bad guys, the big bad guys.
Let's go. Yes. Big bads for the win.
What do you guys look for in a bad guy? Do you like the ones that are just like overwhelmingly evil, or do you like the bad guys with the little nuance where you're like, I can see where he's coming from?
Nick, you go first.
So it's a little bit of both for me, and it always is going to depend on what kind of story that the game is telling me. Like, if this is a silly, goofy time, like if I'm playing Destroy All Humans or something like that, I do not want anything that's going to take itself too seriously. I want somebody who's going to be way over the top and just like wanting to, just, I don't know, smoke people alive like in High on Life. I don't know if you guys got a chance to play that, but I thought like the ridiculousness of like how evil the bad guys were was just hilarious, and kind of that just absurdist humor that they incorporated there. But when it comes to like AAA games or teams obviously where there's a lot of time and effort and thought put into the narrative as well as the character developments for all of the principal cast throughout that game, I want a villain that's going to have real motivations, that's going to be multi-dimensional, somebody who has like they're not just evil for the sake of being evil and it doesn't really add any consequence to the story. I need somebody with a reason for why they're doing what they're doing, and and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But I think that's kind of where I'm aiming when I think about a villain.
That's perfect. That's exactly what I was gonna.
Yeah, word for word, exactly what was in my brain.
Nick, have you ever watched or read Berserk? Anything like that?
Oh yeah, I love Berserk. I haven't read any of it, but I did see the Golden Age arc for like the three movies that are on there, which was absolutely incredible. And I don't know if that's like the best interpretation of Berserk. I'd imagine like reading the compendium of the original like manga probably would be best. But yeah, no, awesome series.
Yeah, and like what is his name? Griffin.
Griffith.
Griffith. Sorry.
Yeah.
He's like one of the best villains ever, and it's the source material does such a fantastic job of, I guess, translating his transformation from Griffith to Femto and like why he did everything he did and everything like that. So I like a good villain. Then has a lot of development. Like they give you like you and Tommy said, a reason for being evil rather than just being like, I want to take over the world and get $1 million in the meantime.
Exactly.
I think you pointed out something that kind of makes it almost more difficult to do bad guys in video games is because like in manga, TV, books, you can have like a separate scene like where you see the bad guy in his view order, which you can do that with cutscenes in video games, but for the most part it's from your point of view as the main character, so you have to somehow convey the bad guy's everything in the lens of the character you're playing as.
That's fair.
I think that it's also it depends because there's so many people that are on the writing team as well for a lot of the bigger games, and the problem that you run into is that when you have a disjointed writing staff who all have their own different interpretations of how the story can go. There have been plenty of games that I've played, even modern or older, where it's like there are some characters that feel fleshed out and lived in, and their character development actually makes sense for the narrative that dev team is trying to tell. And then there will be others where it's like the antagonist. Like, for example, I think a perfect example is going to be somebody that I have on my list for later on, but in the Uncharted series, that's where I saw a lot of unevenness.
Aaron, Uncharted.
Yeah, so...
My favorite.
Is that your favorite, Tommy?
I don't know anything at all about it. I've never played Uncharted. They sound interesting, but I've never played them.
Aaron's had a vendetta against games of the year or games of the like best games list, always having Uncharted on it.
He's like, take him off. It doesn't deserve it.
I forget whose Discord server it was. I think it was maybe on the Tales from the Back. Yeah, it's from the Tales from the Backlog Discord server. Dave, every so often he does this thing. There's this channel for casual top threes, and one of it was like, top 3 series, games, or genres that you haven't played that everybody else likes. And I said Uncharted, and I think it was Dave that said it. It might have been somebody else, but they were like, yeah, they're great games. They're definitely not essential. And I said, yeah, I haven't been struck down by God yet, so yeah, they must not be that essential. Like they're not like the holy word of the Lord himself or anything, part of the Holy Trinity, like the Father, the Son, and Uncharted 3 or whatever.
Yep.
Oh man. But we're here to talk about antagonists, bad guys. Aaron, you start us off. Who's this? Because this is your topic, and that's how this works. You start. Tell us about a bad guy.
Okay. One awesome one that comes to mind is from Chrono Trigger, Magus.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure how you say it. I almost chose Lavos, but I mean, yeah, Lavos is like anti everything we just said because Lavos is just like, I'm an alien. I'm gonna end the world in like 1,000 years, and then whatever. But Magus is great because it's everything that we said earlier. He's only against Chrono, and like he's basically the game's real main villain, Lavos, completely destroyed his family. Like there was this point in the game where Magus's sister, Magus, whatever, they were making this machine to extract power from Lavos and become more powerful and provide power and everything else for the rest of their kingdom and everything. In doing so, of course, they pissed off Lavos. Lavos basically ripped apart time where that kingdom was, and Magus ended up going all the way back to like the medieval era, and then I think the rest of the kingdom it gets kind of explained in Chrono Cross. They got thrown into the world of wherever the El Nido Triangle is and everything, and then his sister ends up being spoilers. But by the way, if anybody hasn't played Chrono Trigger, whatever, it came out in '99. If you haven't played it, play it.
No, don't spoil it for me, Aaron, please.
Okay, I won't. Okay. Well, yeah, his sister, her name's, I think it's Sheila or Skella. Again, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but his sister ends up merging with Lavos. But yeah, Magus is just he's evil because he wants to get back at Lavos, and he'll strike down anybody that gets in his way. Of course, Chrono and his party, they're trying to stop Lavos from destroying the world, but no, Magus wants his revenge, and he's going to be the one to stop Lavos. God damn it! But of course, there's that in Chrono Trigger. There's that like you can recruit Magus as opposed to just straight up killing him, and of course you just convince him like, hey, like we'll work together to beat Lavos, bro. Like we're better together, friendship. And then he joins your party, and yeah, and then you all beat Lavos, and yeah.
I think one of the coolest things about Magus is, or Magus, however you want to say his name, I'm not sure what the canon way is to say it, but I love the fact that for Chrono Trigger they worked with Akira Toriyama to develop all of those models, or like the key art for some of those primary characters, and I love the fact that Magus's character design looks like he could easily and cleanly fit into the world of Dragon Ball. Like if they just picked him up and put him in there, he would fit right in with any of those like primary villains, with like his ears and the flowing hair and everything. It's incredible. You could see him being part of like the Ginyu Force or the Frieza Force or whatever. It's awesome.
I always pronounce it Magus. No, I'm kidding.
Magus.
Oh, God. I was about to harshly judge you. Magus.
Oh man,
that's my goose, partner. And over my goose.
That's the
best.
That's
a stupid joke. Cut it.
That's the best, is when you can recruit the bad guy to your party, because it doesn't happen very often, and it needs to be like super special when it does happen. You can't just do that all willy-nilly, and they do it so well.
Yeah. And not to mention, I've also been on a huge I got to do a show with Rick Firestone from Pixel Project Radio, who's got an awesome show over there. I'd highly recommend everybody too. But I got the chance to do a show with him on Xenosaga Episode 1. And I have to say, like, I became an absolute overwhelming fan of Yasunori Mitsuda as a composer because of that, because of my time, like, working with him on that and, like, learning some of the actual songs or the OST to bring on the show. And then I realized he did the same OST for Chrono Trigger, and I went over and listened to that. And I love how distinct everything is, and, like, the whole story behind what happened to Yasunori as he was developing the OST for Chrono Trigger. It's kind of crazy, honestly.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Speaking of things that are crazy, my first antagonist is on the opposite end of the spectrum, with the deep background or whatever. Well, maybe not. I don't know. I'm going to talk about the Reapers from Mass Effect.
Let's go. Let's go. That's a good one. That's a good one to start off with.
I've only played 1 and 2, so my apologies if I get some stuff wrong. But I think that's enough to understand how insanely lethal and overwhelming the Reapers are. They're like a species, race, I don't know what you want to call them, of robotic things that destroy all life, or not all life, all ascended life every few thousands of years.
Millennia.
Yeah, they go around and they wait for life to develop, to become advanced, to have space travel and all that, and then they come around and kill them all. And they do that in order to preserve the universe as a whole, because if life was to just continue to grow and evolve, they would eventually destroy everything. So they take the route of having to stop that from happening, which makes sense in a way, but it sucks for, when you're humanity, who has just figured out all this space travel and all these species and stuff, and it sucks to have to, you don't want to accept that. And so that's kind of the whole thing of the Mass Effect series, is stopping the Reapers. And one thing I love about the Reapers is when you first talk to Sovereign in Mass Effect 2,
yes,
the things that he says is just like so overwhelming and just crushes your spirit, and kind of puts into perspective how small you are to him. Oh shoot, why did my page scroll? I had it right here.
Was it you talked to Sovereign in 2, or the first time you speak to him in 1?
Oh, no, it
when
is
you're
1.
on?
You're right. Yeah, you're right. It is 1. Yep.
Yeah.
And thank you for that.
That's okay.
Organic life is nothing but a genetic mutation, an accident. Your lives are measured in years and decades. You wither and die. We are eternal, the pinnacle of evolution and existence. Before us, you are nothing. Your extinction is inevitable. We are the end of everything. Like, you talk to him and he's just like, I don't even care about you. I'm going to destroy everything. Like, why are you even trying to talk to me? And I just love that perspective.
Yeah, it's such a good way to create this ultimate kind of faceless, mindless force, even though they're the design of the Reapers as they're coming into like the planets to just absolutely wreak havoc it's so cool and creepy and just unnerving. But I love one of the Reapers are exactly the reason why I love the Mass Effect franchise so much, is because you get a real sense of scale when you're working with organisms like that, and you have an understanding of how much devastation. They do such a good job of showing you as the player, as the audience, like the devastation that they wrought on. And a thing, I mean, like the craziest part, Tommy, is that you haven't played 3, and you get to see some absolutely wild things like the Turian army, the Turian homeworld getting decimated by the Reapers, or even worse, like the Asari homeworld, who has the strongest, like hands down the strongest military across all civilizations, and they're just getting absolutely mopped up by the Reapers. And I'm just, it was real sad. It's a sad 3 is a sad game if nobody has the chance to play it.
I will someday. I'll get there. I actually played Mass Effect 2. I start this trilogy like every few years, and I continued Mass Effect 2 a couple of weeks ago, so maybe I can stick with it.
Yeah, you should.
Another thing that I love is how, as you're like being introduced to the series, you learn about the mass relays, you learn about the Citadel, all those things. And like as you continue to make discoveries about the Reapers, you kind of learn that they were the ones that set everything in motion, and they're for them to use to travel across the galaxy and destroy everything. And it's like all this stuff that you discovered that you're like, oh, this really makes discovering worlds and traveling easier. No, that was just placed there by the Reapers to make it easier for them to wipe out everything.
Yeah.
So they set in motion, basically for us to discover all this new technology and advance as a species, but ultimately to just be like, haha, fooled, and then they just blast you to bits. Bastards.
That's
cool.
Sorry.
I was gonna say that's awesome. Actually, that's some really deep. That series as a whole just has such deep, like rich lore. It's great.
There's one hidden collectible in Mass Effect 1 that gives you a big long text thing. They didn't bother animating anything. It's just a big wall of text, and it talks about I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's from the view of a caveman, where a Reaper comes to Earth and kind of finds that they aren't advanced yet, so it leaves. And because that's what they do. They still travel around to make sure they find everything to wipe it out. And they came once already when humanity was like cavemen, and they were like, nope, you're not there yet. Keep evolving.
Yeah, that's so crazy too. I never caught that. That's really fascinating, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Jesus.
Yep. Okay, your turn, Nick.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I have a whole list. I did have somebody from Mass Effect on there, but we won't repeat that, back to back. I had the Elusive Man down on there just because, like, Martin Sheen, he's so good. He's so incredible.
Martin
and like
Sheen did his voice. That's
right. Dude,
that's
he
awesome.
Voice acted the Elusive Man, and it's like 2 is so stylish because he's in this room and it just looks like this, like he's sitting on a satellite just staring at a sun, and it's so cool, like the atmosphere they build up for the Elusive Man. But I think I want to talk about somebody who I will always think is like one of the most intriguing villains that I did not expect to be a villain, that when I found out that they were actually bad and doing bad things, my mind was a little bit broken. And that's Rhea from Fire Emblem Three Houses. I don't know if you guys have both had the chance to play Fire Emblem, but her character is absolutely mind-boggling. And the biggest criticism for Three Houses is the fact that you have to play so many hours to get a full grasp of the story. But whenever you play those routes that really dig into like what's going on with Rhea and her relationship with the basically the goddess, and what's going on with the different heroes, relics, and everything that she's doing, it kind of is absolutely bonkers. And I don't want to spoil too much of it for folks who haven't played or haven't gone through the Golden Deer route of Fire Emblem Three Houses, but it is really quite fascinating to see her switch and see like her flip after kind of being in this daze, going through school days, and just seeing this woman, this like this matronly figure, like the leader, the archbishop of the church that you're working for, and kind of seeing what happens to her over time too. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, you nailed exactly why I couldn't continue with. I got to the time skip and was like, I need to take a break because my brain is dead, and then I never went back to it just because it just drained me so much. And Yeah, it didn't. All the characters absolutely clicked with me. I loved everyone in that game, but just trying to go through, it felt like the battles were getting in the way of the story to me, which is unfortunate. But I loved what was building was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And then like her understanding of what happened to everything to Nemesis, and you see like all of the subtle points throughout the game where you see her and she's always got like, she's kind of like those new age people. I don't know if you guys have ever had like met or encountered any of like new age people. They're the ones who like are super big into like, Buddhism or meditation, but they're the same people who also don't really worry about money too much, and they're always very like carefree, they want to go with the spirits, but there's this underlying anger that's like underneath this visage of a person, this persona, and that's exactly what Rhea is. She's always had this calm demeanor, and then she'll say something and then it'll just be like one single line delivery that will throw me out of it. It'll be like, something's wrong with you. Something's seriously wrong with this person. And I just love how that voice actress really portrayed her. I'm trying to remember who she was. Do you guys know?
Nope.
Yeah, Jeremy Lay. And she actually had she's been in some other games that I'm really struggling to try and figure out in the back of my mind, but she's been in a lot of like really famous roles. She was Asuna from if you guys have watched any, she was Lucy in Fairy Tail. Yeah, that's Fairy Tail. And then
nice.
She's done like a lot of like anime characters and that sort of thing. So yeah, she's just an awesome character overall, top to bottom. That'll just be me for Rhea.
Nice.
Is it me?
It's you,
me?
Aaron.
Me turn? Okay.
Your turn.
Okay. My next one is I guess kind of goes against everything we said in the beginning.
Yes.
It's Porky Minch from Earthbound and Mother 3, kind of.
Porky, is it Porky Minch?
Right? Yeah, Porky. His first name's Porky, last name Minch. You first see him in the beginning of Earthbound, and he's just this like really wimpy, childish little fat kid. He has rich parents and all that shit, so he feels real entitled to like everything, and he doesn't do a whole lot in Earthbound. Of course, Gygus or Gigius, however you say it. I've always said Gygus because it's G-Y. G-I-Y.
I've always said Gigoose.
Gigoose?
Okay.
Yummy. like Magus.
Exactly. Oh man, I'm so funny.
You're hilarious, Tommy. Don't change. Anyway. Yeah, Porky, like I said, he's real cowardly and childish and everything like that. Eventually you see him again, like you see him for a little bit in the beginning of the game, and then his parents ground him for whatever reason. I think for getting his little brother in trouble or something stupid, and then you see him again later in the game. And like I said earlier, his family is rich. Like you'll see him in like his dad's tower or building or whatever the fuck. And there's like this evil statue that they have in their building or something like that. But basically he teams up with Gygus because he doesn't like Ness.
Yes.
And he knows that the Ness needs to beat Gygus, but he doesn't want Ness to do that because he doesn't like Ness.
I love it.
Which is bug.
That's amazing.
Yeah, when you so when the party goes to defeat Gygus in like present day, like he's already too fucking strong. Like the whole point of them was to beat Gygus in present day, because in the future he becomes just overwhelmingly like unlimited, infinitely powerful. But so they try to beat him in present day. Nope, way too powerful already. So they go back in time. They have their souls transferred to these robots because their bodies wouldn't be able to handle the trip back in time. So they go back in time as little robots, and you can see like his appearance has changed a lot because of Gygus's influence over him and everything. Basically, like it's kind of implied that Gygus is like not possessing him, but kind of controlling him a little bit. But yeah, you beat Pokey or Porky or whatever the hell, and then you defeat Gygus and everything. But before you can actually like finish off Porky or whatever the hell, he has this device called a phase distorter, which is what Ness and the gang use to travel back in time. He uses the phase distorter to escape. No idea if you're gonna travel backward or forward in time or whatever, but yeah, he just leaves, and then you defeat Gygus, and then boom, game ends. But in Mother 3, Porky appears again. He's actually the main antagonist of Mother 3.
Ooh.
Which Mother 3 is the one that the US never got. It was only in Japan for the GBA, but there's lots of fan translations available that you can buy to play the game if you want to. But
that's awesome.
Like in the beginning of Mother 3, the island that they live on, the Nowhere Islands, it's all just like peaceful and calm and serene and everything. But Porky comes in and he starts like genetically altering animals. Like he'll fuse two different kinds of animals together, and he causes all sorts of havoc. And eventually there's like this time skip in the game where like Porky does take over the whole island, and he starts creating like cities and advancing technology at just like a rapid pace. And again, yeah, you go to fight him, and again he's in like another little spider bot, but yeah, before you can beat him, like I said, he's very cowardly. Before you can beat him, he hops inside this machine called the Absolutely Safe Capsule, which is impenetrable.
Absolutely safe capsule.
Unknowing to him, like he doesn't know it, but it's impenetrable from both sides, both in and out. So if you go in, you can't get out.
You're not getting out.
Yeah, so he goes in, he's stuck in there, and then yeah, I guess again spoilers, but throughout Mother 3, you'll be picking what's called the pins of the world, and there's just a bunch of shit behind those, but the pins of the world basically hold like pieces of the earth in place, because like prior to the beginning of Mother 3, the world fucking ended, and the Nowhere Islands that they're on now, they're basically this island created by this like higher being, and they put the survivors of the end of the world on this thing called the White Ship and put them on that island basically to restart life. But and the pins of the world, or the needles or whatever, basically I guess contain this power or whatever. But yeah, anyway, you pull the final pin of the world, and then the world kind of splits. And then eventually, yeah, you see at the end of the game, you see Porky in that absolutely safe capsule floating through space. And yeah, he can't hurt anybody anymore. Goodbye, Porky.
That's nuts.
Goodbye, Porky.
I played the first 15 minutes of Earthbound, so I was just walking around that small hometown, and you saying all this crazy stuff. It breaks my brain.
It's absolutely nuts. Like everybody says, it's quirky, and it's funny, and it's goofy, but there's some pretty deep shit, especially in Mother 3. Like it's the saddest happy game ever. It's so heartbreaking, but it's funny and cool.
I like that.
What can you play Mother 3 on today if somebody wanted to go out and play it?
I mean, you can of course play it on your PC if you download it. I mean, you can also do it on your phone as well too. You can download an emulator for GBA, and you can download the ROM for Mother 3. Some come with the translation patch, but you can download it without it, and then go download the translation patch. It's super easy. But
okay.
And you can also buy I bought on eBay a $20 like already translated cartridge for GBA as well, and you can do it that way.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really neat.
I have kind of an opposite end of the spectrum bad guy from the giant space earth splitting stuff. I want to talk about federal agent Edgar Ross from Red Dead Redemption 1.
Oh, that's a deep cut. I love that.
Yeah, for a long time I was going to do Dutch Vanderland because he's the bad guy throughout most of the series.
Now listen, I have a plan.
Yeah, exactly. And then as I was thinking about it on my way to pick up my Qdoba, I was like, Edgar Ross is kind of more of a bad guy than Dutch Vanderland, because throughout the Red Dead series, you meet all these bad people who are doing bad things, and you kind of learn more about them, and they're kind of a creature created by society passing them by technology passing them by. Like, at the beginning of Red Dead Redemption 2, the gang is just like a group of people that wants to live together at a place, and they have to do some bad things to make money and survive and stuff, but they in general just want to be out on their own. And it's everything else that kind of twists and corrupts Dutch Vanderland and other people. And but in Red Dead Redemption 1, Edgar Ross is the federal agent who kidnaps the main character John Marston's wife and child and tasks him with going out and killing the last members of his gang from Red Dead Redemption 2.
That's crazy.
Bill Williamson and Javier Escuela. That's it. So he's like, I kidnapped your family. You're going to do the government's work for me, so I don't have to. And you go and kill those two. And John's like, okay, can I have my family back? And he's like, no, Dutch Vanderland's back. You have to go and kill him now too. And so he does that. And he's like an a-hole the whole time. Like John would be like, hey, where's my wife? Is she okay? And he's like, oh, you didn't hear? She died in a prison riot a week ago. And he's like, no, I'm just kidding. That didn't happen. And then after you finish off your final revenge, he gets his family back. He gets to you do a few missions on the farm, and then it turns out, he didn't mean to do that. He sends the army after you and kills John Marston. One final act of a-holery, because you can't have John living knowing that he worked for the government to do all these things. And I think what makes him so evil to me is just because he didn't have to do all that. He's a federal agent for the precursor to the FBI. Like, he has the means and agents to go and do this himself, but he kidnaps a man's family and forces him to do it, and then ends up killing him in the end anyways. It's just
Jesus.
It's just horrible.
Top tier evil.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Man. Ooh. I'm glad that, I don't know. I was going to say something. I don't want to spoil the very end of Red Dead Redemption, but it ends okay.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Your turn.
That is super cool.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead. And I'm also going to circle back around because I feel like I let her down by not remembering some of the other stuff that she did. But Jeremy Lay, the voice actress for Lady Rhea in Fire Emblem Three Houses, has been in a ton of anime. Obviously, she's in Sword Art Online, Fairy Tail, but she also has done plenty of video games. She actually does additional voices for like multiple bad guy enemies in Last of Us Part 2 for like the Wolf Militia, and she did like voices for like Marines that were like ODSTs that were in Halo Infinite. She did the female voice for V in Cyberpunk 2077, which I thought was particularly cool. And she was Fia in Deathloop, so like she's been in plenty of things. But yeah, moving on from her in that. So I want to touch on something that I have started to recently play that is not in my normal wheelhouse. Sometimes I defer to kind of sticking to a lot of big games, but I took a little bit of time earlier this year to just delve into the backlog and try out a genre in a game that is not something that I typically would do. So I tried to pick up Metroid Fusion, and I end up loving it. I absolutely adore Metroid Fusion, and one of the coolest aspects of that game is the SAX, which is essentially just like the X organism that Samus is hunting down found like her armor. And the premise of Metroid Fusion is cool as fuck, because it's basically like Dead Space before Dead Space existed. And it's like Samus went to go capture this organism on a planet, and then somehow it got out and it bonded with her suit. And so she was trapped in it, but in order to like get her out, the scientists had to like give her some type of vaccine that allowed her to use like essentially absorb the organism and created more powers. But in order to do that, she had to like bust out of her suit. And so that's why she has this new kind of like redesigned blue greenish suit that you'll see in Metroid Fusion. But what happened to her original suit is the actual organism took over it, and it's just like inside of it, walking around the station and doing really like it is tactically hunting down Samus. It like knows what systems she's going towards like throughout the station to try and like keep it online and keep it from blowing up, and it will specifically like do things to hinder her progress. And one of the interesting things is that obviously the music and the atmosphere and the way they colored that game, it lent so much towards like why I really appreciated. But it was like you know it's a good villain when your heart starts beating a little faster, and you're super under leveled, and all of a sudden you see the SAX like walking in a pillar or in an area like right below where Samus is just chilling and hanging out. They did such a good job of kind of like teasing the SAX as a villain and getting it involved until ultimately you have to confront it in the end and destroy it so you can get your full gear back. But yeah, so yeah, great villain. Did you guys ever play Metroid? Any Metroid Fusion at all?
Hell yeah. Oh my god, those when I first played that game, the scenes where you do come across SAX and then it cuts to like the SAX's face in the scene, and it's got those blank. That scared the fucking piss out of me.
Dude, that can be so scary for kids at that time, because I'm imagining like 8-year-old kids who love like Metroid, and then they're to pick up this game, and it's like they're scaring the shit out of those little kids because it was foreboding, and the music was right there with it.
It was just like this drone, if I remember correctly. It was just like damn, like
yeah, exactly like that. Yeah. And then there's also like some stuff going on. I haven't actually finished it yet. I'm like 3/4 of the way through that game, but there's some stuff going on because there's an AI that's following Samus around, like giving her directions. But there are also scenes on the back end where the AI is talking to this unknown person who might in some way be connected to Samus in the past or in the future or something like that. And it's really cool kind of machinations they have in that game. But the SAX and just the X in general is really cool. Really cool enemy for an early game. I don't even know when that came out. Do you know when it came out, Aaron?
It's got to be, let me look. I think it was like 2008, possibly. Let me look it up.
That was going to be, right around that.
2002. So, yeah.
2002. Wow.
Yeah, so really early on.
We're so old.
Yeah.
No.
That's over 20 years ago, boys.
Oh my gosh, stop.
It's wild how good Game Boy Advance games still look despite being 20 years old, especially the Metroid handheld titles like that and Zero Mission. Like they look, and compared to like Super Metroid, they look really good.
Yeah, and it's like, and that's one of the reasons why I appreciate you both of you guys so much, is because on the show you make a point of like honoring and like calling out retro games like from the backlog, and I think it's like a piece of magic that I have started to discover as an avid gamer in the community. That like, yes, your graphics aren't going to be as intense or lifelike or realistic, but that doesn't mean that there's like really really good artistic work that's put into some of those earlier like 16-bit games that you just cannot disregard. At all.
Yeah, exactly. That's why Chrono Trigger was my very first pick, because despite being, when did that game come out? Like 94, 95?
Yeah, it 90s for sure, yeah.
It still has some super deep backstory. Like, it's just so good. Yeah, older games are good, people.
Get it together, people.
Get your head out of your ass.
So I guess, Aaron, it's back to you, buddy.
Woo!
Oh, shit.
Or am I wrong? Is it Tommy?
No, you're right. No, you're right.
That's right.
Okay.
Oh, this is tough. Again, kind of on the opposite spectrum of what we were talking about earlier. I have M. Bison because he's just interesting. M. Bison from Street Fighter.
Okay.
He's just this. He's just this big megalomaniac who, he's got like this dictator. He's kind of complex to him. Like he wants to rule the world. I forget a lot of what his backstory even really is, but yeah, he's just this evil big dude, and he fights using this.
He looks like a Nazi.
He basically
is that wrong to say?
No,
I don't know.
No. They have a distinctive look.
Yeah. It's the shoulder pads and the hat for me.
Yeah, absolutely, the hat and the shoulder pads, dude. But yeah, he fights using this like inherently evil energy that he mastered called Psycho Force. The goofy ass name, I know, but he shows up in like, I think Street Fighter 2 was the first game he showed up in, but yeah, Ryu beats him, and of course, like any good bad guy, he comes back. He's not done yet. What are you doing? And it's like Street Fighter 3 or 4, I think, where he basically, you find out that he's dying because of the strain that the Psycho Force puts on his body, so he needs to find another host. Basically, like he's gonna possess them or put a soul in their body or some shit. So he thinks, oh hey, Ryu beat my ass. Let's take his body, little bitch. And then so he challenges Ryu, and of course Ryu beats him, and he still tries to possess him, but because Ryu has, I guess, because he's so great and he has so many great memories of his life or something, I forget, he ends up basically just fighting it off. Like he's like, no, it's my body, you fat motherfucker, get out. And then this other character, Rose, comes in at the same time. She punches a hole through M. Bison's body, basically to ensure that he's fucking dead. Like punches a hole right through where his heart would be. What is it? M. Bison ends up possessing her, possesses Rose, and she goes into like this comatose state. The scientists at the corporation or whatever the fuck he owns, the Shadaloo, he's the head of this corporation called Shadaloo, or organization or whatever. His scientists make him a brand new body for him to inhabit. So he's back again, baby, and he's on the prowl.
Back again.
And and I think it's Street Fighter 5 is when Ryu finally like puts his ass down for good. Like his body just fucking disintegrates, and M. Bison is gone, bitch. Get out of town, M. Bison. And yeah, he's just...
That's so cool.
This is the fighting video game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Street Fighter.
I've never played it. I want to play the new Street Fighter, but I've never played a previous one. I didn't know that there was all this stuff.
All this backstory and lore. It's kind of like it's like the answer to Mortal Kombat. But like in that regard with Mortal Kombat, like what do you think, Aaron, would it take do you think like a really super violent, like just like really, really, really pushing the limits R rating Street Fighter would go hard, or do you think they have to be cheesy corny with it like they are in some of the earlier Mortal Kombat movies?
That's tough. Because Street Fighter is not really known for being gory and shit, but I guess I guess it doesn't have to be like gory and like
it could be like thematically like R-rated.
Yeah, that could work. Because some of the shit that goes down in some of the story that goes down in those shows is pretty dark, but they're not shows, games. Jeez, sorry.
yeah. Didn't Jean-Claude Van Damme do a Street Fighter adaptation in the early 90s? Did you guys ever see that?
Yes. Well, no, I never saw it. I know it exists, and they also
I never seen it either.
They made a video game based on that movie where all the player models are the actors.
Yo, that's insane.
There's a Street Fighter game.
Talk about a mind-bending movie to video game adaptation loop that just happened right there. Yeah, Holy shit.
1,000%.
Introducing. Coming this fall to a Walmart near you, it's Street Fighter the movie, the game.
It's like High School the Musical, the series.
Holy shit, yeah, dude.
That's amazing. That's fantastic.
Oh, man. So before I play Street Fighter 6, I need to watch like an 18-hour YouTube video recapping the whole story. Is what you're telling
100%.
me? 100%.
I mean, I wouldn't think so, because I think Street Fighter 6 is like this whole new era basically for Street Fighter. Good. So you should be fine, because like Street Fighter 5, if I'm interpreting this correctly, is basically like the end of like this one era, and it's all new baby.
All new Street Fighter, the next generation.
Yes.
It's funny that you were like, this one isn't really fit in with the rest, because mine definitely doesn't. I want to talk about Mike Tyson in Punch-Out. There's no story.
Will would love this. Will would absolutely love this. He's a Punch-Out fan, so I love that you chose this one.
Yes, there's no backstory here. Mike Tyson is just impossible to beat. Absolutely impossible. If you don't know, Punch-Out is more of a puzzle game than a boxing game. It's like reading your opponent and trying to counter their attacks while timing your punches in.
Take a break.
It's like
pattern recognition. Yeah.
It's like Dark Souls, but before Dark Souls, because with the timing and countering and stuff. And then it's tough. It's like a horrible, tough process. It only saves like every 3 fighters. So if you lose to the 3rd fighter, you have to go through the first ones again. And then you get to Mike Tyson, the final boss, and if you take one single uppercut, you get knocked down. Your entire health gets drained. Just like that. It just takes one punch from him and you're down. It's awful. And
I love how the referee in this game literally looks like Mario, but just with like a ref shirt on.
It's totally Mario. I think it's like
totally Mario. Okay,
I'm pretty sure it is.
That's outstanding.
Ready to rumble.
And I love how like Mike Tyson is towering over your little tiny character. Yeah. That's amazing.
Just as you would in real life.
Yeah, for sure. It's totally realistic. It nails the realism. If he hit me with an uppercut, I would be dead.
Yeah.
Tommy,
100%.
Before you proceed, I need your best Mike Tyson impersonation.
I can't do a Mike Tyson impersonation. I'm sorry.
Can't do a Mike Tyson accent?
No.
He talks so lightly and he had that little lisp going on. You ever see Mike Tyson Mysteries?
No.
Mike Tyson Mysteries? What are you talking about?
Have you not seen that?
No, what is that?
It was on Adult Swim, dude. Look up Mike Tyson Mysteries. They had Norm Macdonald playing this pigeon.
Fuck.
There was a ghost of some dead dude, and then his daughter,
was it actually Mike Tyson?
Is it like the oh my gosh? Oh, it's an animated series?
Yes.
What the fuck is this?
It's the funniest shit ever, dude.
This looks like a Harvey Birdman, but Mike Tyson. That's amazing.
Did Mike Tyson do the voice? It was him?
Yes.
Oh yes. Who pitched that to him?
And even at the end of the episodes, it'll be like this live action segment where Mike Tyson just says some shit. Like it'll be like a quote from something, or he'll just be like, "Oh, hello there," and he'll be like eating a grilled cheese or something stupid.
You need a grilled cheese.
Best, dude. Oh my god, in Pigeon, he's like this sex addict, fucking alcoholic pigeon. So good.
That's incredible. That's absolutely the unhinged, Adult Swim content that we need.
Yeah,
honestly.
Oh man,
it's so fucking good, Tommy. You gotta check it out. It's Mike Tyson.
I will. I have to now after bringing up Mike Tyson into this episode. Another thing that makes him so hard to fight against is like some of his tells for what he's gonna do. He winks at you, and that's just like a thing, like to wink at someone before you knock him out. That's just so rude. Also, while researching Mike Tyson and Punch Out on the wiki page, they have a section for rule infractions. As per the unified rules of boxing established by the Association of Boxing Commissions and Combat Sports, Mike Tyson has 4 rule infractions in this fight. His taunts between rounds are disrespectful to the fight and the opponent. One of his taunts is telling Little Mac to stay down. This can be seen as him trying to get Little Mac to throw the fight. His blinking hooks count as rapid punches, which are not allowed in boxing. Someone's like, he's cheating too. He's not following the established rules of boxing.
I love that. He's cheating in a video game, for sure.
Exactly. But yeah, I don't even bother with that fight because it's just impossible. I don't even want to try it. I enjoyed the first earlier rounds, and I don't even want to touch Tyson because it's just impossible.
I really wish Will was here to see if like he actually, because I know he played through this game, but I don't know if he beat Mike Tyson. He might have. I'm not sure.
Too. It's definitely possible. It's just it takes so much practice and so much reflexes, and it's like frame perfect everything. Oh.
Yeah. They need to do what was it, a Nintendo spin-off of Mike Tyson's Punch Out called Touch Tyson. That'd be cool. You pet him and stuff, and he like giggles. I don't know.
Yeah.
No.
I'm just shitting stuff out.
Our ad is later. Our ad read is later.
Oh, shit.
Nick, reel us in.
Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and keep on going here. I'm gonna start rubber banding in between, less modern stuff or in coming into some more modern titles. Something that's been really that I've had my hands on recently is Jedi Survivor is especially Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Yeah, Cameron Monaghan, Cal Kestis, you gotta love it. But I Fallen Order was one of my favorite games of 2019, and it was just an incredible entry into this new heralded Disney Star Wars canon, and they did such a good job with it on just so many levels that I couldn't help but love that game on a lot of fronts. And one of the reasons why is because they have such interesting and like motivated villains who are fascinating and just fleshed out on so many levels. And obviously I have written down here the second sister.
Yep.
Her name is Trilla Suduri, and she is the main antagonist of Jedi Fallen Order. And throughout this game, essentially Cal is, he's trying to live in the world of the Empire dominated galaxy as a Jedi who has cut himself. He was traumatized so much as a kid during the death of his master that he was cut off. He cut himself off from the Force in order to hide. It was almost an unconscious reaction. And part of the story is Cal going through different worlds and trying to come into himself again and realizing that he cannot step away from the fight in the battle against the Empire. And throughout that, he's building his power. You acquire more powers, but the entire game, you're being ruthlessly hunted down by the second sister, who is one of these principal figures of this group called the Inquisitors, who are essentially Darth Vader acolytes, and they are trained in the ways of the Force, and most often a lot of those Inquisitors were actually former Jedi. And you go throughout this game, and if anybody's, this is really close to Jedi Survivor, so I don't want to spoil it for anybody. The kind of the principal kind of plot twist that you find out closer towards the end, but there are several interconnected characters, and Elizabeth Grulund did an amazing job as Trilla in getting her just like so intense in the scenes where obviously most of the game you see this character with her helmet on, and she's wearing like almost if you know what an Inquisitor looks like from watching the Clone Wars series or some of the newer Star Wars stuff, what that uniform looks like, and it's just so dominating. And from the jump, she is whipping Cal's ass. She is significantly more powerful than him from the jump, and it's also attributed to the fact that he's cut himself off from the Force. But even to the end, like the boss fight you have with the second sister at the end of this game is absolutely incredible, and it's a boss fight that has happened before in Star Wars history, where it's like he doesn't really want to fight her because he knows what happened to her and why she is the way she is. And so I just find that really interesting and motivating to kind of like wrap your mind around. And the other person that I have to call out from Fallen Order, who is an insane villain and probably one of the coolest Star Wars characters that I've ever seen is Taron Malicos. Did both of you guys play this game at all?
Yes, I loved it. Yes.
Okay,
I did not.
You did it? Are you interested in Star Wars at all, Aaron, or is it kind of like, eh?
I mean, I enjoy the movies, and I love reading about the lore of Star Wars because there's a lot. Like, there's a lot. But, yeah, feel free to spoil the games, though. Like, I don't mind.
Okay, absolutely. I'll just get into it. But, like, so you go to Dathomir, which for folks who, aren't well-versed in kind of the expanded universe and lore of Star Wars, Dathomir is the home world of the people who look like Darth Maul from Episode 1. And so that's where his species live, and they call it like the Brotherhood. And there is also another group of people who live there who are called the Night Sisters. And Cal ends up on Dathomir for one reason or another. I can't remember explicitly like why he went there. I think he just felt like the Force calling him there. But he encounters this guy, this normal human-looking dude on there who doesn't really reveal himself or like talk a lot about himself. But it turns out like as you get later on in the game, you return to Dathomir for a second time, and this is when essentially he reveals himself as Taron Malicos, who used to be an old Jedi general. He was one of like the great generals during like the Clone Wars, and he survived Order 66 after he was betrayed by his clone troopers and went into hiding. But he was in hiding, and he kind of reclused himself for so long that he went basically fucking insane and started, dabbling in other sides of the Force, also just like the dark side. So he kind of became a Sith over time just naturally. And then so he went to Dathomir because he knew that there were these Night Sisters there, this culture of people who had this magical energy that was similar to the Force, but also different. And he wanted to learn it. And he also, like, there was a lot of like Force power on the planet itself. And so he kind of like wound up there. He dominated this tribe of these the actual brotherhood of people who were there, and it's a weird matriarchal society. It's like the Night Sisters like rule dominion over all of the males of Dathomir, but also train them. It's a whole thing. You kind of have to get into it, but he like became the leader of this one group and just like stayed there. He just like resided on the planet to like absorb some of the Force energy. And so by the time Cal comes around, he's like, hey, like, I'm actually, he's starting to like talk to Cal very pragmatically. He's like, look, you know what happened in Order 66. You know that there aren't many of us left. Like, I have this plan, and it's going to involve doing some really bad shit. And it's like, but we need to work together to learn to get some more power. And he tries to recruit him. Of course, that goes bad, and it leads to one of the coolest fucking boss fights that I've ever seen with a lightsaber in a video game, hands down. Like, the way that he moves is just absolutely wild. The way that you like would want a crazy powerful Sith general. He takes off his clothes too, and he has all of these like scarification he put on himself with his own lightsaber. It's just like he's such a sick character, and he's one of those that I want to learn more about him. And we don't really know what happens to him. He kind of like you think that he kind of like gets entombed at the end of that boss fight, but you're
crushed or entombed.
Crushed or entombed. Like, you're not really sure what happens, but it doesn't really end super well for him. But that's also not the most definitive death on screen. Like, he didn't get his head or his like. We don't see the body, so we don't know if he's like gone for sure. So yeah, really, really amazing character, Taron Malicos. He's just so awesome.
Aaron,
I love.
Do you care if we skip your turn? Because I had a character from Fallen Order as well.
Ooh,
that's fine. Should we do an ad break though? Is it?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good tease.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
Hey, superstars. Are you a coffee addict looking for your next big caffeine fix? Or are you just tired of all the normal boring coffee options out there now? Well, you need to check out Bones Coffee. Bones Coffee has lots of different varieties of coffee flavors. They've got things like red velvet, cookies and cream, s'mores. They've got one that's called Jamaican Me Crazy that's really good. It's like caramel vanilla rum kind of thing. But they also have just your usual, salted caramel and French vanilla and all that stuff. They even have decaf and what's called high voltage, which is just extra strength. And they've also got espresso. They've got all sorts of cool stuff. Plus, if you use coupon code Super Pod Saga at checkout, you'll get 20% off of your order. And again, that's Super Pod Saga at checkout to get 20% off. You can also follow the link in our episode description. And yeah, why not use that one-time coupon code? Like I said, 20% off. It's great. let's head over to bonescoffee.com. Get yourself some coffee, some cool gear like mugs or French press kits, stuff like that. Check it out. Well, goodbye. And this episode is also brought to you today by our two patrons, a novel console and my friend Jared. Yeah, a novel console. Chris was on our episode about favorite remakes, remasters, and reboots. He's awesome. He and I bonded over Star Fox and Metroid and stuff. Check out a novel console on everything you find podcasts on. And Jared, he was also on an episode with me and Nave about games we want remastered, and my hands are really cold. And Jared's great. He and I talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot, and we make fun of each other, and it's awesome.
Jared's incredible. Love the guy.
I love that you specify my friend Jared every time. If you subscribe to the Patreon, you will be our friend as well, and we will call you my friend and whatever your name is.
Man, I want to be your guys' friend. Let me subscribe to the Patreon.
That's the only way to become our friend.
Be our
friend.
friend.
To Patreon. Okay, let's do it.
This episode also brought to you today. Tommy, you take the lead on this ad. I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
It's you got all those cables hanging around everywhere, right? Everyone has their box of cables. Well, now we have the cable duplicator program where you can double the cables you have, so that if you lose any of your cables, you got more cables. Don't worry about what your wife or girlfriend or whoever's living in your house will say. You need these cables. You can never have too many cables.
No, please, I'm begging you, Tommy. I don't want any more cables. I'm begging
what
you,
if
please.
You lose one? What if you end up having...
My cat can't even get in the window because I have this tangle of cables in front of it.
You have more windows, though, right?
Yeah, I guess.
So you need more cables in front of those windows.
Why can't everything be cableless, Tommy? I guess because then these fine folks with the cable duplicator goes out of business. We can't have that happening.
Don't listen to Big Wireless. They don't want you to know the truth about cables.
Boy, let me tell you the horror stories I've had with wireless devices.
Yes, please.
Have you tried a wireless charger? You probably haven't, because they only work with iPhones and Galaxy phones. Motherfuckers, they don't make wireless chargers that work with other phones. I have a Motorola. God,
not like your Nokia phones from 2003. Absolutely not.
I put my phone in the microwave to try and charge it, and it exploded. And that is because of Big Wireless. If I just would have had a charging cable, this wouldn't have happened.
I one time tried to charge my Bluetooth earbuds by connecting them to a car battery, and they exploded, and I lost my hands. Thanks, Big Wireless.
So now Aaron's just using stumps to type on the keyboard, and he's constantly pressing like 5 letters at the same time because the stump is too big. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't want stumps to use to type, then you got to make sure to go get the cable duplicator program.
That's true. Cable duplicator program. You've saved so many people's fingers. We're back? Are we back?
We're back. Let's all three say it together on the count of 3, okay?
Okay.
We'll and we're saying we're back. Okay. So
okay.
1, 2, 3.
We're
back. Shit.
Oh,
no. Good enough.
Did we fuck it up?
Yeah, whatever, dude. Let's roll with it.
Let's roll with it. Roll out.
Man, I had someone written down from Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which, by the way, is a terrible title amalgamation of words.
Really? Yeah, it's a little messy, but I don't know. I kind of like it. The colon always throws me off.
Yeah,
like they could have just called it
Jedi.
Fallen Order.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. But anyways, I'm going to go into deep spoilers for Fallen Order. So if you don't want to hear deep spoilers, turn off the podcast and go outside.
Yeah, I'll put a timestamp down or something in the timestamp too, just to be safe.
I think Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order has the best depiction of Darth Vader in a video game.
Ooh,
because
it does.
Everything Nick said about the second sister and how she completely overpowers you, how it's a difficult boss fight, how she's just this incredible, unstoppable force. Darth Vader shows up and just kills her. Just like it's nothing. Just shows up, stabs her with a lightsaber, she's gone. Because she couldn't kill Cal or capture him or whatever, so he's just like, okay, stab, you're dead. And then from that point on, you have to try and quote-unquote fight Darth Vader, but he's he's just an unstoppable force, and you have to run away eventually, and it's just stuff being thrown at you. The environment is getting torn to shreds as everything is flying all over the place. You can't fight him. You can barely run away from him. It's just such...
He's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, it's just such a... Yeah, terrifying is a great word. I was just scared the whole time just because he's just... It's just that power level thing of showing just how insanely in touch with the dark side and powerful he is, and it's just so cool to experience.
Yeah. Go ahead. So I was just gonna say, like, one of the most interesting parts about it is that, like, that version of Vader feels so consistent with this new era and the understanding of like how powerful Darth Vader is. Like, if you've watched Rogue One, like that Vader is consistent with the Vader that we see in Fallen Order at the very end of the game. Even though Cal Kestis at that point in time is pretty powerful, like he does some crazy shit. Like he's like absolutely mowing down like these gigantic troll like enemies. Like it's not even like an afterthought for him. And then, you know, he's confronted with Vader, and it's just like this semi chase sequence, and you're just absolutely powerless against him, which is really sad too, because like Trilla towards the end of that fight, which is super beautiful and cinematic fight, you're fighting in this this underground arena, but it's this underwater base at the bottom of the planet. It's like the planet where the Inquisitors like take people to, you know, interrogate them, and it's collapsing in and on itself. And this same area was also featured in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show when Obi-Wan goes there to try and save like baby Leia. And it's just like, it's such an interesting sequence, because as you're fighting her, you see her kind of like her personality change throughout the course of the fight, and then finally like she gets just absolutely murdered. It's this very like a stark event that happens, and you don't get a lot of time to process it because you just got to run away from Vader.
And seeing her face too, like everyone's just kind of standing there, and you just hear the breathing, and you see her face just drop because she knows that like Vader's right there, and it's the end. And I don't remember her name, the woman who was kind of helping Cal get in touch with the Force. He runs at Vader too, and he just like waves his hand and throws her over a cliff, or not a cliff, but like the edge of the area. So it's just like, man, he's too powerful, that guy. Someone should do something about him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay,
I think. Go ahead. Sorry.
No.
He said no. No, the one character I think that you were referring to was which is kind of like the mentor for Cal. I believe that's Siri.
That's it.
Yeah,
yep.
Siri Junda. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When does the game take place? Like as far as the movies go?
It is before episode 4, so between 3 and 4.
Holy shit.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And you see a lot of like really important like canon things happen in like in that timeline. You see like the conquering of Kashyyyk, like the Empire basically decimating Kashyyyk and like enslaving the Wookiees. Like you live through that. Yeah, that was a really deep one. And then you see like the beginning of the game starts off where you're working in a scrapyard planet where they're decommissioning all of the clone destroyers and turning them into Star Destroyers, which is really sick.
Nice. That's cool.
You go to the planet where they the Jedi of the past would get their Kyber crystals to make their lightsabers. You go to that planet.
Ilum, yeah, dude. Ugh, so good.
Holy shit, dude.
It's huge. It's not just like a Star Wars adjacent video game. It's like deep in the Star Wars universe. Like it's important stuff.
And they chose one of the coolest characters from Shameless to go along with it. That's pretty sweet.
Wait, who's in Shameless?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Was Cameron Monaghan in that?
Yeah, he plays Ian. He's the he's the third oldest child.
I'm gonna need to watch that show now.
It's good.
They have to they have to have a plan for Cal to be in a TV or movie, right? Because he's an actor with a face that they use in the show, so they could easily put him in a TV show or movie.
I think they're gonna wait for a really, really specific moment, and it's gonna
freak out.
It's gonna be like a very hype moment, and then Cal Kestis is gonna walk on screen, and we're gonna like lose our minds in theater. It's gonna be awesome.
Tommy's just gonna go.
There'll be like 3 of us in the theater saying it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all three of us who have beaten Fallen Order for sure.
I'll come with you just to like throw some extra eeks in there. I'll be like the baritone because my voice is low. I don't know if baritone is low or not. Whatever the low
baritone is low. It's the
okay, cool.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah,
I'll be like,
you're gonna throw some popcorn in the air. Yeah.
It'll be the start of our Star Wars quartet.
Yes. Speaking of quartets, my oh wait, are you guys done with the Star Wars?
No, you're good.
Okay.
Done with the Star Wars?
Oh yeah.
My next one, it's kind of tied to an existing property already. It's Joker from the Arkham series.
Ooh, nice pick.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Joker's already an interesting character because like his exact origin. Well, I mean, I guess in the comics they kind of go into it, but like in the Arkham series, it's completely unknown because like they have those little tapes or voice logs or whatever you'll not read. God damn it, listen to every so often. Hey. Read our podcast, please. No, whatever. They have those little voice logs of like Hugo Strange going back and forth with the Joker, and the Joker will like pitch him some random bullshit like origin story that he can think of, and they'll say like, oh, he's just doing this to avoid the responsibility of whatever caused him to go down the path that he's on now, or something like that. And yeah, the Joker's just great because like he doesn't want like $1 million, billion, cajillion dollars, and like he doesn't want control of anything. Like he just wants to fuck shit up,
chaos.
Basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, as stated by Sir Michael Caine in what was it, Dark Knight?
Yeah.
Some people
I just want to watch the world burn.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Oh my god. And he has this like transformation that you can kind of see throughout like the whole Arkham series as well too, because like at the end of, I believe it's Arkham Asylum, he ingests those like chemicals that make him super swole and like super buff,
super energy
and of course
drink.
Yeah, basically big dick monster energy drink. And he gets his ass beat. Shout out to Big Drink Energy. They're cool guys, by the way. Mikey Tabletop is in our server, but
such a good name.
Yeah.
Great name.
Yeah.
Then
Joker gets his ass beat, and then in Arkham City, you see that like because he ingested those toxins, he's fucking dying. Like his body
is he?
Yeah.
Is he like wasting away?
Yep.
I really need to go back and play the Arkham series again.
Yeah, he's got like an IV and everything, and he's having trouble breathing.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And basically he he injects some of his blood that has all that toxin and shit. He injects some of it into Batman. And
then Batman's dying.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And basically, I forget what the whole thing was, but then you finally, I guess the Joker dies. I think it is in Arkham City, because then throughout like Arkham Knight, which is like the final, I guess, Arkham game, like you'll see little flashbacks, or like you'll see like little, I guess, hallucinations of the Joker here and there, because like he's actually gone, and like that was basically Batman's other half.
Yeah.
Because like they were basically like yin and yang, like the Joker would be there to cause some bullshit, and Batman would show up, and then
it just kind of, I love that it goes into that thing. Like everyone always says like, oh, there can't be a Batman without a Joker, and the Arkham series is like, well, what if there wasn't? How does that happen? And
yeah, I
also love seeing a bad guy actually face consequences for his actions, like you see with what happened with the Joker in Arkham City. Because he does, in Arkham Asylum, he does that bad guy thing where he's like, now I'm a big monster.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And then the second one, he's like, oh, that was not good. I'm dying.
That was a terrible choice.
I think there was, I guess, like kind of a spoiler. Like it turns out that he wasn't dying or something. It was like, that was like one of his clones created by like Clayface or something like that. Like he's actually fine or something.
I never finished City, so I don't.
Holy shit! Yeah, I never finished City either.
Oh man, what a good
yes,
series.
Sir. Fuck yeah, it is. Those, oh my god.
I bought the Arkham collection on PlayStation. I don't know if it was on sale at the time, but I grabbed it because I have that, and then also I pay for the PlayStation Plus like basic tier, and so I have access to the collection, and that like gives you, I think, Arkham Asylum, or it's not the first one, but it's like the last one. Arkham Knight, I think, is the one that's on the PlayStation Plus collection. So I need to like do a re-review of that series because I've played like through bits and pieces of it, but every single moment I understand like it just like it hits all of the notes that you want it to hit. And is it not like one of Kevin Conroy's like last pieces of work in the series?
Yes, and then he did record for Suicide Squad, the game coming out.
Okay.
God, but we didn't even say Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill's voice acting is amazing.
Yeah, dude. So Mark Hamill was Joker.
Yep.
Outstanding.
He is the Joker voice for me, regardless of anything else. Like that's what I hear in my head.
I think he had to stop doing it because I remember reading something where he was like, yeah, like doing that voice repeatedly over time actually was really bad for me. Sure. And so I had to, you know, take a break and step back from the role. But yeah, he did such a good job to be a real Joker.
Another just really tiny fun fact about Arkham Asylum. They, if you pirated the game, they had a thing that could catch that, and everything was totally normal in the game until you got your cape and your ability to glide, and they coded it so that your cape would be ripped and you wouldn't be able to glide anywhere. So you were stuck at that point in the game and couldn't progress any further.
Huh. That's really cool.
Yes.
Since I already did my turn, it's your turn, Nick.
Oh, awesome. That's really exciting because I think I have a good one. This is a spicy take that I think will make people really mad at me. But I'm gonna go
Super Pod Saga.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna go with Ellie from The Last of Us Part 2.
Ooh.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah. She So The Last of Us Part 2, I mean, this is not a spoiler for anybody who kind of understands the story. Unfortunately, there probably will be people out there who have only ever seen the HBO series for The Last of Us, but...
Me.
Yeah. Oh, really? You haven't played through the games, Aaron?
I played through the first one, and I watched it.
I've never owned a PlayStation... Well, I own a PlayStation 3, but I own the game. I've never owned a PlayStation 4.
Okay. So The Last of Us Part 2, do you guys, like, kind of know what happens,
the whole
though?
Thing. I know everything.
Okay.
No, I don't know anything. I can read up on it afterward, though.
Okay.
Unless
if you don't want to be like spoiled, I mean, I can go into it a little bit without like major spoilers, but I will we're gonna go ahead and go forward. So Ellie, obviously, you know, for the beginning, the premise of The Last of Us Part 2, like the inciting event is the fact that Joel gets his fucking head crushed in by a 9-iron through this character named Abby, who turned out to be one of the coolest fucking characters in the Last of Us franchise, and which is a franchise I dearly love. I think it's incredibly well written. I think that Neil Druckmann is like one of the top of his class when it comes to narrative design and development, and there's a reason why it's a super famous franchise now, and like they're very heavily commercializing it. We have sequels and new multiplayer games coming out, but The Last of Us Part 2 kind of centers around Ellie, and she is the main playable character, and she is a really fun character. You actually get to play her at the very end of The Last of Us Part 1, when you're leading up towards fighting David, and so you're trying to survive, you're trying to save Joel, everything that happens in the show. But The Last of Us Part 2 immediately starts out and you get into a situation with Joel, and you basically get cornered by these people who are part of the WLF, or the Washington Liberation Front. They're also known as Wolves. And Abby is one of these characters, and she's a super big, yoked out girl who's like in her like mid-20s, and she basically just murders Joel. And you come to find out that she is the daughter of one of the doctors that Joel murdered at the very end of Last of Us Part 1. And so he was one of the doctors in the room, and it's very funny, Aaron, because like in the show The Last of Us, where he like walks into the room and there are these two doctors, and the one like whips out a scalpel and he's like, I won't let you take her, and Joel shoots him in the face. That was Abby's dad. And and it's interesting too because there are two nurses in the room, and one of the nurses in the show is Laura Bailey, and she plays the voice. She is the voice actress of Abby in The Last of Us Part 2. So there's like interesting parallels there. They got both Troy Baker and Ashley and Laura on the show, which was very nice to see as a fan of the game. But The Last of Us Part 2 is like a revenge journey. Sorry, what was that, Aaron?
Oh, sorry, I don't mean to keep cutting you off. I just want to.
Okay.
So when the show ends, is that when the first game ends?
Yes. Yeah, they lined it up exactly. Yep.
Okay.
And there's a lot of like basically the last thing you see in The Last of Us is when Joel takes Ellie out of the hospital, and she's asking him what happened because she was sedated that whole time, and he's like, they said that the vaccine wouldn't work. There were other people like you, and that it's not going to pass. And she knows that it's a lie, and that's where it ends. And so you start The Last of Us Part 2, and the love between the two of them is still very much there, but Ellie became estranged from Joel because of his lie. And as you go and play throughout The Last of Us Part 2, there are flashbacks in certain scenes, and they have a kind of a reconciliation. And, you know, there's still this just like deep love because he continued to mentor, to father her. He taught her how to play music, all this stuff, when they went back, because there was a significant period of time where they just weren't in any crazy shit. They just stayed in Jackson with his brother. But, you know, after Joel basically gets killed, it's a revenge journey, and Ellie is hunting down Abby, and there's a lot of stuff that she has to go through there. But there are several moments through the game, several really pivotal moments where Ellie could choose to take a non-violent path, to take a path that didn't involve her brutally murdering stuff. And you see throughout The Last of Us Part 2, and it starts off where she captures like one of the Wolf Militia members, and she has the like option to like let them go, and she doesn't. And like you're forced to, as the player, decimate this one character. And that's like the start of her kind of slowly going down this path of like becoming unhinged and, you know, being insane. And it's also, you know, kind of paired up with like, you're in the situation. Tommy is also trying to go after Abby, and Tommy is Joel's brother. That's and me. So like you have this, you have this you have this like dual, this tandem storyline, these routes that are like going through in The Last of Us Part 2. And you know that the route like kind of suddenly ends after maybe about 25 to 30 hours in the game, and then you restart the game and you start playing that through Abby's perspective. And this is where you start to seriously, deeply understand that Ellie has become an incredibly flawed individual. Like she's become kind of insane because Abby, like as she's going through at it, like you get to know her better because everybody hated her at first. You hate like this individual who's expressed herself only to you by like murdering the man that you fell in love with in the first game. And then you start to realize what happened to her and like where she came from. And there's literally a boss fight scene when you're playing as Abby, and it's in this like theater, this old theater, and you're fighting against Ellie. And it's probably one of the most tense, scariest moments in the entire second game. It's really, really special. But the game ends and you're playing from Ellie's perspective, and without kind of going into too much spoilers of what happens towards the tail end of the game, she loses almost everything she loves. Like all of it gets lost because of her choice to kind of pursue this path of vengeance. And it's also her like experiencing PTSD, and like the game, like she's like alone at the very end of the game, and she kind of just like walks into the woods, and that's how The Last of Us Part 2 ends. And you're kind of just like let's sitting there after this, you know, maybe 40+ hour experience, and you're just like the weight of that whole story kind of on your head and on your shoulders. You're just kind of like, woof. Yeah, there were a lot of mistakes that were made there. So yeah, she has to be one of the top villains on my list.
I'm happy you brought this up because I've never played The Last of Us 2 because I never owned anything past a PlayStation 3. But like I said, I read up on the whole story and it really connected with me. Like this is like a me personally thing, but I've always been kind of like against the whole revenge thing. Like an eye for an eye leaves everyone blind is something I try and live by. I'm not going to try and get revenge on someone I'm just going to like try and live my life better. And I feel like the reason that The Last of Us 2 kind of was so polarizing was because it's trying to like make you look at revenge and be like, is it worth it? Is it actually like, why do you go to all these lengths just to make something even? You're going to destroy yourself by doing this. And that's not something that video games usually do. Like, even one of my earlier picks, Red Dead Redemption, the main thing at the end is you getting revenge on John Marston dying, on your father dying at the end.
Right.
And this game twists that and makes you look at yourself and kind of, just place a mirror on revenge. And is it worth it? Which, man, it's so good. I'm happy that a story like that exists in video games.
Yeah, it's such an important story, and it's also, I think there's people kind of give it a lot of flack because they say like the narrative dissonance is a little bit hypocritical because Neil wants to tell us the story that the cycle of violence is bad and like revenge is bad, but the entire game is centered around you like brutally, like actually like incredibly like brutal murders, like both against like normal NPC, but as well as like actual like main characters. Like, I mean, you kill pregnant people in this like show, like or rather the game show. We both made the same mistake, Aaron. But yeah, no, it's so important. But I think also like the idea of I think the performative aspect of The Last of Us and like actually playing through that game is what makes it one of those top tier games and what makes it kind of have a more deeper meta commentary, because it is Neil and the game designers forcing you to live through these moments and think about what you're doing and recognizing what you're doing as this character is wrong and you shouldn't be doing it. Like, you know, you think about like towards the tail end of the game, Abby gets captured by these fucking insane psychopathic people. There's like this tribe of people, and they're like, you're not really sure if they're cannibals or what's going on, but they're like super bad, like kind of just this tribal group of folks who have hoarded resources. But they literally capture Abby, who's this incredibly strong and willful character, and they break her. And towards the tail end, you're playing like at last time as Ellie, and you're hunting down Abby for the final time, and you're going there knowing that, you know, your partner and your child like might not be there when you return, and you find Abby, who's been crucified on this beach with a bunch of other people, and you like cut her down, and like the ending of the game is just, it's so intense because it's like this fight between the two of them on the beach, and it's both of them are completely just decimated at the point in the game, and it's just like, why are we continuing with the violence? But it's it speaks to you in a lot of different ways, and I think it also serves an interesting purpose of speaking to different types of people in multiple ways as well. Like different, like everybody's gonna take something different away from this game, which I think is why it's like just so compelling in general. But yeah, Last of Us Part 2, play it. Play it. If you have a PS4, PS5, play it.
So I have many questions and many things I want to say, but I didn't want to stop you and interrupt you. But does the show pretty much follow the first game down to a T, or are there like parts that are missing that you don't get?
There are parts that are missing. There are like subtle changes, and a lot of it is like, you know, they cut out some of the gameplay. Something that you don't really realize is that so much of The Last of Us is all like, a lot of the storytelling that happens is very contextual throughout the gameplay, but they didn't have that option or that opportunity. There were moments that they recreated in the HBO show that were like one for one the shots that you get in the game, and so it's very similar. Especially like it comes to mind, like for example, like the fight that they have with this like local militia happened in, I think, Kansas City versus in Pittsburgh. So it's kind of like different things are happening at different like areas, and there are some characters that they made up for the show that weren't in the actual game itself. But I imagine like The Last of Us Part 2 has a really expanded, like they have a lot of characters in that game, and so I can't imagine that Craig Mazin and Neil would like really want to go out of their way to create more characters for the second season. But what I will say, Aaron, is that like if you just watch the show, I guarantee you they're going to do just enough to give you all of like the must-know details. I think the interesting prospect for me though is to see how they're going to tell that story. Because The Last of Us Part, like, because that's one of the criticisms that I made of The Last of Us Part 2 was that it should have been more integrative. Like, we should have changed perspectives the way that George Martin changed perspectives in his characters in the Game of Thrones series, as opposed to playing for 30 hours as one character and then playing for another 25 to 30 hours as like this other main playable character, because that gives you a lot of fatigue. And I know that was purposeful. They wanted to fatigue their players in this game, but it's just like, damn, like I need something. I need a little bit more help to kind of make it through that like really dark 40-hour experience.
Ah, damn. That's, I mean, if I kind of wasn't as interested in, like before I watched the show, I didn't really give a fuck about the games. Like I didn't know anything about them. I just assumed it was another like, I guess, third-person survival game. But after watching the show, like the story really fucking gripped me. Like the who were the two dudes that were secluded in that one town? The one, there's like Nick Offerman and the other dude.
Oh yeah, so it was Bill and Frank. Bill and Frank. They're in the game as well. Yeah.
That part, the part where that fucking ruined me. Like where they die together and everything. Like oh god.
And the awesome thing is that that's not even in the game.
None
like
of that
you
is.
meet like in the game. They change a little bit of the storyline, and because they could, and because like it's Nick Offerman, like how are you not gonna like use him to the most of the best of your ability? But like in the game, you actually meet Bill in Bill's town, and he has this whole area that's been like changed, and you actually have to fight against some of the like local marauders that or infected that have come into the town, and you're fighting alongside Bill, and he's kind of this crass, like very just angry person, and he's the represent like his he actually Liv talked about this in a recent episode. Bill is the foil to Joel, because Bill is a representation of what Joel was going to become if he didn't have anything left to live for. And you see that in the game, and that's one of the most interesting things about the show too, is because they chose to give almost an entire different like perspective of like him saying, no, I don't want to live for anything else, like you are the one that I love, when he's dealing with Frank at the end there. So yeah, really good stuff.
Powerful,
really good.
Yeah,
I just enjoy how fucking like I guess bleak and what's another word I'm searching for that's like synonymous with bleak? I guess just dark, like how bleak and dark the story is to that game. Like I guess like the world. Have you ever seen the movie The Road?
No.
Yeah, that's with Viggo Mortensen, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
That it reminds me a lot of that movie, because it was just like I guess I can't say for sure whether one was a lot like more grim than the other one, but I really enjoy shit like that, and that actually I'm not gonna buy a whole like PS5 or PS4 for the game, but I'll probably like watch a playthrough of it or something. But that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like I would say find like your favorite person to like watch playthroughs on, because like the game also is incredibly cinematic for people who know what they're doing. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but like for people who know, like I've seen clips, I think Suni Legend posted a clip of him playing as Abby, and like there's one scene where he like that you are on an old like oil tanker, and you're trying to get like traverse across it to get closer to this beach, and there's like several encounters, and this guy's like whipping out weapons and like parrying like infected and rolling around and like throwing grenades at the exact right spot. It's insane what someone who's like super skilled can do in those games. So yeah, highly recommend.
Nice. Whose turn is it now?
It's your turn, Aaron.
Okay. This is kind of it's not necessarily a hot take. I wanted to have like, there were two characters I wanted to put down, but I only wanted to do like one character per franchise kind of. So I went with a Final Fantasy villain. Now I didn't want to be like everybody else and go Sephiroth or Kefka. I wanted to go Kuja from Final Fantasy IX. It's my favorite game.
The man with the hips.
Yeah, dude, Kuja's so interesting because like a little bit of backstory for Final Fantasy IX. Basically, there's two worlds to Final Fantasy IX. There's Gaia, which is the one that almost all of the game takes place in, and then there's Terra, which is inhabited by this. I don't know the specifics behind Garland, but Garland basically created this. Terra is like it's this world that's slowly dying. Like there's not a lot of resources. Like there's just fucking nothing. And Garland is essentially trying to I guess recreate the world basically, and so he's made these artificial beings called genomes, which they're basically Zidane and Kuja, like they're the people with monkey tails basically. Garland's plan is to, I guess, transfer souls of the Taron people, the genomes, to souls on Gaia, and eventually merge the two worlds. And he does that basically by like he creates Kuja as this like basically this warmonger, like angel of death, and basically like every time somebody died in Gaia, a soul from Terra would take the place of somebody that's been born in Gaia and stuff. And Kuja was just uncontrollable, so Garland says, "Well, fuck that shit. I'll make a new angel of death, you motherfucker. If I can't reel you in, I'll make one that will obey my commands." So he makes Zidane, or Zidane. Or Zidane, I don't know how people say it. I've always said
I've
Zidane.
always heard Zidane, yeah.
Yeah. So he makes Zidane as basically like his ultimate angel of death, like the one. And he starts because normally when he
is Zidane not the protagonist of 9?
Yeah, he is.
Oh, sick. So you're playing as the ultimate angel of death in this game. That's actually really cool.
Yeah. And so normally when Garland makes one of his genomes, he just kind of starts him off like, I guess, middle-aged or teenaged or something like that, just so he can kind of, I guess, kickstart rebuilding the world. Because if you started with like just a shit ton of fucking babies, like what do babies do? They just shit and piss and poop and pee. So this time around though, he starts Zidane off as a child, because in Final Fantasy IX, when your characters, there's like a bar that fills up and puts them into what's called trance, and trance is this like latent ultimate energy within like any character, but of course your emotions have to be strong enough to experience trance, and because each character, I guess, personifies a certain emotion, or each of your party characters, personifies like a certain emotion, and that's what allows them to experience trance, to go into trance. And because Zidane started off as a child, his emotions developed, I guess, more than Kuja's. Like, he had this whole, lifetime to develop all of his emotions, and that is what allowed him to enter trance as he does, and that's what makes him the ultimate angel of death, because he's just leagues far more powerful than Kuja ever will be. But Kuja finds out that he's being replaced, and he's just this basically like a child in a man's body, this extravagant, flamboyant man that's essentially just a child. Kuja finds out about this, and he's like, "Fuck that shit." So he takes Kid Zidane, kidnaps him, and just drops him on Gaia. And he thinks like, "That's the end of that," and just does the little hand washing off thing. But as Zidane ends up joining Tantalus and all that shit. But then as you later on in the game, it's like toward the end, Kuja does finally go into trance, and he's just completely unhinged and sadistic, and like he only knows like war and like killing and death and shit like that. Like, he just it's so interesting. Like, he sounds basically exactly like Sephiroth.
That's really cool. Yeah.
And Ultimecia and shit like that. But he's just,
I can't believe I'm reading a little excerpt here that he enslaved Bahamut, one of the summons. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
That's
yep.
insane.
Yeah, totally.
So this dude is obviously like, his power level is just, way over 9,000 at this point compared to everyone else.
But he's not like Zidane is just far more powerful than him, of course. But
okay.
Unlike, I guess, Kuja was basically just like, you're powerful, like shout out powerful, but Zidane isn't like fully developed as Kuja. So it's basically like with Dragon Ball Z, how like, if you guys know anything about Dragon Ball Z, Gohan is far more powerful than Goku ever will be. But Gohan is just, he's younger, he hasn't developed all that shit yet. It's the same thing with like Zidane and Kuja. But yeah.
And he also doesn't give a fuck about fighting, so he'll never be as powerful as his dad.
Yeah, dude. That's it. Kuja.
You inspired me, Nick. I actually changed my last pick. You made me remember some stuff.
Okay.
My last pick is going to be Captain Martin Walker from Spec Ops: The Line.
Oh, okay.
Have either of you played Spec Ops: The Line?
Spec Ops is something that I own in my Steam library, and it's been in my backlog that I really want to play it, but that's okay. You go ahead and let me know about this guy.
Yeah, I'm going to spoil everything.
I've heard like the big twist about this game, and so I'm ready. I'm here for this shit.
I haven't played it for like a decade, so excuse any mistakes I make, listeners. But so essentially, it starts out as your typical war game. You are part of a military.
Call of Duty.
Yeah. This is from 2009, so it's right in that era where Call of Duty Battlefield was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And you're in a military unit that goes to Dubai because there is another military unit that has gone rogue, and you are sent there to stop them. So that you have to go. It's pretty typical throughout the beginning. You're shooting through some insurgents. You're shooting through some military people who are bad guys. It's your typical stuff. And then at one point you're getting overwhelmed, and the bad guys are getting too close to civilians. So you make a decision to unload a bunch of white phosphorus on the bad guys to take them out once and for all.
Oh shit.
And you go over there and find that, oops, you accidentally killed a whole ton of civilians. And
oh fuck.
And so Captain Martin Walker is like, I can't believe that the 33rd, which is the rogue people, I can't believe they did this. We have to get our revenge. And so from that point on, he just kind of loses it, and he just kind of gets more and more insane in his quest for revenge, and like keeps doing more and more terrible things for the city of Dubai. Like, he wipes out their water supply. The commander, John Conrad of the 33rd, is in radio contact with him and puts him through all these moral dilemmas. Like, he puts two people up and he's like, you have to kill one of them. Are you going to kill this person or this person? It's like there's no right or wrong choice, but throughout the whole thing, you're just making life far worse for the civilians than they were beforehand. And at the end, you get to where the 33rd is holed up. You go inside, and Conrad's dead. He's been dead a long time. And it turns out that Martin Walker was imagining him in his head because he couldn't handle what happened with killing the civilians with the white phosphorus, and kind of lost it and went on this rampage through Dubai. And his way to make his brain okay with it was to say, this is Conrad's fault. It's not my fault for doing all this. This is Conrad's fault for making me do this, essentially.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and throughout all of the game, there's parallels drawing that to you as a player as well, playing this military shooter. Like, it starts off with their voice lines being like typical military stuff, like they're flanking me on the left, or tag him and bag him, all that stuff. But by the end, Martin is just screaming as he's shooting. He's just yelling bloody murder, or just like, I'm going to kill these motherfuckers, and just like going nuts. And the loading screens between areas will say things like, it starts off with just hints like hit square to reload or whatever, but eventually be like, are you having fun? Or it'll be like, is this what you get a kick out of, killing people? Things like that.
What?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
They're like, if you take a look at the billboards as you're going by, you'll see your face on them, and it'll say, I don't remember what it says. It says something in a similar vein though about killing and stuff. And so it's just like, yeah, it's a whole thing where you are definitely the bad guy in this story, and you can, as like when you're playing a video game and you're playing a shooter, you're technically a bad guy. You're killing lots of people. And Spec Ops: The Line really makes you like look at yourself and be like, why is this fun to me? Why is it fun to kill people and murder and stuff? And it's just amazing.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, such a great commentary on all of that. Yep. Especially something that I think that the audience and people, kids probably needed at that point in time when, Call of Duty is absolutely influencing, potentially people's opinions on whether or not they want to like actually enlist in the army, and the glorification of like that modern warfare that you see. I mean, it's the name of the fucking franchise. So it's like, I love that. I love that concept where they're taking that and they're turning it on its head and be like, yeah, you like this, don't you sick fuck?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. Did not get enough credit for telling an amazing story, because all the advertising and just looking at it just looks like a generic shooter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. So it probably kind of flew under the radar there, which is why I didn't get my hands on it. But yeah, always heard great things from Spec Ops: The Line.
Okay, your turn, Nick. Take us out.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna try and pick a really good one because there's a couple out there that I have a little bit of a bigger list. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and talk about BioShock, and I want to talk about Frank Fontaine, baby. Yeah, BioShock are such a cool game. I have some artwork, some commission, some artwork behind me that probably people could see if they watch the stream or something like that. But it's a really cool, awesome game, and they play with a lot of different themes. For folks who don't know anything about BioShock, essentially the premise is that you are just some rando that's on a plane, and all of a sudden the plane crashes in the middle of the ocean, and you basically survive the crash, and you swim out, and the only thing close to the wreckage is this little tiny island with a lighthouse sticking up out of it. So you walk into it, and you decide to like try and like see if you can't find anything there, and it turns out the lighthouse is just an entrance to the actual underground city called Rapture, which was something that was built in, everything kind of takes place in that pseudo. You're not really sure the point in time, but it's very much got this stylized, like Gilded Age, like 1940s, 1950s architecture that's inside there. But it's this place that was built and founded by this dude who's this absolutely kind of megalomaniacal scientist who had enough business sense to bring enough scientists down with him to create this functioning, thriving city full of like technology and stuff kind of below the surface. And they had a good thing going there for a while. He kind of like, they had everything set up, and they kind of took a bunch of Nazi scientists down there too, and like used some of their notes on experimentation. But as you're playing throughout this game, you get encountered by like a little sister and a big daddy, who are these, characters, these gigantic like characters that are stomping throughout the city. But yeah, that's kind of the gameplay in what you see while you're in Rapture. But one of the principal antagonists of the game, which is really interesting, is this person who you kind of hear whispers about from other NPCs called Frank Fontaine. And Frank is this really scary character. Like, you come across some like pretty like grody people down in Rapture. Like, the ones who have been able to survive are because they're survivors and they're willing to do anything. So you're talking about the worst of the worst. And even they talk about like Frank Fontaine with like whispered, I don't know if reverence is the right kind of adjective to use in that case, but they're scared of this dude. Like, nobody wants to fuck with Fontaine, and he even has his own like little business inside of Rapture called Fontaine Fisheries. And so you're starting to learn like little subtle context clues, but throughout the game, as you're being pulled through this journey, and you're trying to figure out a way to essentially escape, like you kind of just like want out, but there are several moments a lot similar to Dead Space, where it's like you got to do stuff down there in order to make your way through and out. And part of that is confronting this guy who Andrew, oh god, what is his name? Andrew Ryan, exactly. Yes, so sorry. Yeah, Andrew Ryan, who is kind of the big shit that's running things, and he is technically the antagonist of the game, but throughout it you're helped out by this mysterious character who is kind of like, he's this like very nice Irishman. Like, he's this dude, like you see him very early on in the game, and he's the one that's kind of guiding you through your comms. He's like, go through this door, go, take care of this thing. Would you kindly like, figure out like if you can, do this sort of thing. And that's the thing that he always says to your playable character, would you kindly? And so towards the end of the game, you finally confront Andrew Ryan, and basically you fucking kill him. And the way that you kill Andrew, you kind of figure out that Andrew Ryan actually is your playable character's biological father, and you as the playable character were this kid that he had, and that he basically manipulated and trained and like brainwashed it to be like his assassin, and you're sent up to like take out some of his political opponents, but you've been conditioned and trained to answer to certain trigger words, and one of those triggers is "would you kindly." And you realize that this guy who has been helping you out, and it's been this, positive voice, has been the one guiding you throughout this entire game, has been Frank Fontaine all along. And he's just been, the master with the puppet strings, and he's just been stringing you along, being a completely different person. And you have this like final showdown with him. And it's so interesting. I actually talked to William about this as I was playing through the game, because so much of what they were influenced by, when making this game, was Atlas Shrugged and some of the iconography that Ayn Rand kind of set up there. And as like you do it, like you basically, the substance in the game called Atom that people are injecting themselves with to give them the superpowers, and your playable character has superpowers too. Frank like takes this huge fucking vial, or like multiple vials, and puts himself in this contraption and injects himself with so much Atom that he becomes this like golden like figure, and he looks like he's solid metal. And it's literally just the character of Atlas that you see on it's very similar to the character of Atlas that you see on the front cover of Atlas Shrugged. And it's like, it's so fascinating kind of the tie in there, and just the rhetorical symbolism of like who Frank Fontaine is and how he corrupted this once thriving kind of neo civilization that was set up under the water. So great character, great game. Everybody should play BioShock.
It's too scary for me, but I appreciate it.
It's fucking terrifying. I played this game not knowing what BioShock was all about, not realizing how terrifying it is. And it's like the subtle things too. It's not the like jump scares or anything like that. Like, you'll be wandering around Rapture, and there will be these like people who are corrupted, or like they have been basically broken by using substances down there, and like you'll hear them like whispering or like ranting in the walls, or they're like yelling at nothing. And it's like some of the most unnerving audio design I've ever experienced in a game.
The "would you kindly" is one of my favorite things in all video games, just because it's like another one of those almost fourth wall breaking things where it's saying like you're kind of brainwashed as a player to just do what the game tells you to do. You exactly. Hear, "would you kindly grab that wrench," and you do it. Oh yeah, I love it. Man, remember when AAA games would say something?
Remember when AAA games have meta commentary and it's not just Resident Evil and Jedi, boo boo. Yeah, no, I love it.
Yeah, I wish there was a way to see what Big Daddies look like under their suit and shit. Because like that was.
I always wonder that too. Yeah.
There was like that part of the game where Jack has to, or like the main character has to basically go through the transformation of becoming a Big Daddy so he can go confront them and shit. But
he
doesn't have to do like the full thing though. Like he just gets like the vocal cord.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think something like that, and then he gets the suit, and that's kind of how you wind up towards the end of the game.
Nuts.
Absolutely bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. So yeah, everybody should go play. I haven't played BioShock Infinite or the second one, but I've heard that they're both, like, all three games are really good entries in their own right. So
yeah, they are.
Try to find time in the day to get through them.
When the heck are we going to get a new BioShock? They've been working on it for like a decade.
I think they're like, I thought they gave up on it, honestly, Tommy. Like I know that the team who started it, like I forget the name of the director or the principal game designer, but he's doing another thing that seems Judas. Like Judas, that's the one that's coming out that's like a BioShock like honorific or inspired game. So that's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, me too.
On 3, let's all say that's nuts. So it'll be like 1, 2, 3, and then like right on 3 we'll all say that's nuts.
Got it.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
That's
nuts.
Perfect.
Yeah, we did it the second time. We did it.
Oh, good. I'm glad. It didn't sound good on my end, but so yeah, that's villains, that's bad guys, that's antagonists. Anyone else want to throw out any last second ones?
I have an honorable mention for Tom Nook from Animal Crossing because he's just a fucking capitalist.
Yeah,
I was gonna say Ganon.
Totally unfair.
Ganon's a good one.
He's not just one dude. He's like several incarnations of dudes. Like the spirit. Yes.
Yeah.
Several dudes and a dude.
Also, I have the shark from Maneater, like your playable character from Maneater.
Christ.
Like, yeah, like that game, like you are a fucking menace. Like those human beings, they're just minding their own business, and you're just like, I need to evolve. Let me fucking eat you.
Get in my mouth.
Because that's how evolution works, for sure.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Okay, Nick, where can people find your podcast and find you on social media? Tell them again.
Absolutely. I'll tell you again. Thank you guys again so much for having me on the show. It's been an awesome time talking about villains with you guys, so I'm really, really happy to be here. If you want to find me, you can find the Friday Night Gamecast on Twitter. It's just at Friday Night Gamers, and that's at NITEGAMRZ. Friday spelled normally. And if you want to find us, just listen to the show, all podcasting platforms, Friday Night Gamecast. That's where you can reach out to us. So again, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thanks for coming. You brought up some excellent ones. I love it.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Aaron, where can people find us?
They if they can find us, because we're really, really good at hide and seek. If you can track us down through Scent, you can find us at superpodsaga.com to find all of our stuff.
That's my favorite.
Let's go.
And it's my turn to pick next week's topic, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yes. Okay. I'm gonna pick another one of those big, vague ones that sounds better in my head than it will probably be.
I love them, dude.
I just want us to discuss our happiest video game memories. I just want us to pull deep from our brain and just bring up our happiest memories from gaming.
That is a good one. That came out.
That's gonna be a hard one for me. All of my experience has just been pain and suffering over the years.
Video games make me unhappy.
Yeah, exactly. I want to be sad now.
All right. Look forward to that next week. Check out Nick on the Friday Night Gamecast, and thank you for listening. You're all beautiful and wonderful. Okay, have a great day. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.